This episode of Obscure Chatter is brought to you by procrastination. Let's circle back to this, or not. It's really whatever. And now, on to the episode. Welcome to another episode of Obscure Chatter. I believe it's episode 52, which is wild. I am your host, Terri Doty. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if it isn't, welcome back, you crazy so-and-sos. Oh my gosh. Guys, time is being a hell of a thing. It's such an old person thing to say, isn't it? Because I feel like I just talked to you in my living room. But here we are again. Me talking into my microphone while watching Censored. I'm doing that for Steven, so he no longer has to hear those beeps. Those beeps haunt him as well as myself. And, you know, you listening, wherever that may be, through whatever source that may be. I want to go ahead and list off a couple because I do not know where you guys listen most of the time. Like, I get streaming statistics, like where you're listening and what apps, but sometimes there is a big gap that's like, and where they're listening here is a mystery. So there's obviously obscurechatter.com, but there's a lot of apps that tap into the RSS feed. Some that I have done personally or Steven has done, and then others that have been done by lovely listeners of the show. There's, in addition to the site, there's Amazon Music, Audible, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever the hell is replacing Google Play. I tried to update it. Oh my God, I forget what the new one is for the Android user, and it wouldn't let me because I'm not an Android user. So if you're an Android user, you let me know. But yeah, Player FM, iHeartRadio. Where else? I think those are the big ones, but yeah, also have been trying to update everything and release everything at the same time of it being on YouTube, which is just at Obscure Chatter. Please subscribe and please like. And of course, That Anime Show, also known as TAS Rewind, has its own YouTube channel, That Anime Show Podcast. And anything else, anywhere else you're listening, I just hope you're keeping it legal because this show is free. And the reason I keep doing it is because of listeners like you. And that might sound familiar. This program was made possible by viewers like you. But there it is. It's September. It's the end of September, which is baffling to me. My gosh. There were no immediate corrections that sprang to mind. Yeah, I think we're all just kind of getting ready for spooky season. As I talk, I'm looking at two tiny little pumpkins that my dude got, and they're just on our fireplace. I'm ready. And I definitely mentioned this in the episode after Halloween last year, but I'm trying to figure out exactly how I can do this, where there were girls. I saved this on my Ring camera footage. I saved it, still have it, because I thought it was so cute. In 2022, had like the most trick-or-treaters I've ever had in like the 15 years that I've lived in this house, which this house's name is Silas. And I want you to just kind of tear apart why I named my house. My house is an awesome entity and I love it dearly. But there were these three girls last year, like that were maybe, didn't have a lot of trick-or-treaters last year at all. But there were three girls that came in, that were walked up together and they lost their minds at our pumpkin. They're like, oh my God, it's real and all this stuff. And I had it in my head that, like, what if I got a bunch of like Walmart pumpkins or something? They're like $5 a piece. Got a bunch of them and just kind of like sat out in my driveway and like, hey, would you like a pumpkin? Would you like me to help you learn how to carve it? I have no idea how to do that without seeming really sus. but I had the idea, and that's enough to make me feel like a good person. But yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to carve some jack-o'-lanterns. I'm ready to bake some pumpkin seeds. I don't know how much candy I'm feeling. I've definitely been changing up my diet to be, well, I'm not a really big candy person to begin with, but if you recall, a couple Halloweens ago, I decided to eat a bunch of candy while watching a movie and answering questions and all this stuff. And that was a really hard episode to listen to because I heard myself getting sick just progressively. And for the couple of days following that episode, Steven and I were not well. So definitely not doing that for the Halloween episode. But man, okay, what kind of media have you been checking out this September? Me, I try to keep you guys posted because these are things that you may have heard of before, may not, and I want to geek about some stuff. The big ones, movie-wise, I finally saw, these are not everybody's cup of tea, and I get it. I always get it when it's, it's the same reason I want to give everybody the license that I wish people gave me when I say I don't like something. I really want the response to be like nothing or just like oh yeah, it's not for everybody, blah, 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 something. But usually it's I can't believe you didn't like this, or you liked this. I mean, if you remember earlier episodes of Obscure Chatter, that was even one of the many reasons that I decided to censor episodes is I wanted to minimize that bullshit. But yeah, A Quiet Place Day 1 is better than the other two, hands down. Fight me. Fuck you, fight me. Let's go. It was hauntingly beautiful. I cried a couple of times, and I cried in theaters during A Quiet Place 1, the first one. And I know that some people are like, oh, it's kind of a ripoff of this. That's the thing about certain art, where it's like, that's what I watched first. Like somebody was like, oh, it's just a ripoff of Bird Box or something else. I'm like, I didn't see Bird Box. And unfortunately, like then they released that Sandy Bullock Bird Box thing. And I'm like, it's not that it's a similar premise. It's that it looks like it too. Like if something is going to be, like it's the Hydrox versus Oreo. Yes, Hydrox was original. But what do you remember more? Sorry, it's the Oreo. As I shake uncontrollably. But no, I like the premise. I like the monster design of the aliens in the. I keep wanting to say Quiet Place, but then also saying A Quiet Place, whatever. And the performances were just so good. And it is not an easy thing. This is what I miss about doing on-camera stuff is so much of what you do when it's not your line. And that's basically the whole movie, like hearing the actors be like, I had to really, so much of acting is reacting, but a lot of it, you have to study a little bit more and be more aware of how you can communicate something with a look or a gesture, doing very little, pulling it back. And just in general, that's been my whole thing, my whole therapy journey this past year or so is letting silent moments just be, not rushing to fill those silences. Now imagine there are monsters that are triggered by sounds. You have to live in the quiet moments. Whoa. Thinker, I know. And then it's kind of crazy to think about, but it's been 20 years since Shaun of the Dead was released. That is the beginning of the Cornetto trilogy. That is the beginning of my obsession with Simon Pegg, with Edgar Wright. That's what inevitably got me obsessed with something that they did previously that I'll talk about under TV shows here in a second. But I remember watching a trailer for it. And if you remember, in 2004, there was also the Zack Snyder remake of Dawn of the Dead that came out, which I actually also love. Fast zombies are not always my bag, but it was done really, really well. And it took nothing away from the original, which I also love. I think that's probably my favorite out of the original Romero trilogy. Day of the Dead. If anyone says Day of the Dead is their favorite, they're lying. Fight me. Fight me. Don't fight me, please. Because I will just let you win so I can walk away and eat some, curly fries. Fuck off. Fuck off. Don't fight me. Fry me. No, don't fry me. That just sounds like... Anyways, yes, Shaun of the Dead kind of got marketed really weird here in the States, where it made it seem like it was going to be spoofy, and it wasn't at all. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Edgar Wright. I'm still not over my last viewing of Last Night in Soho. So good. So many of his things. I even did an Edgar Wright little movie marathon for a birthday not too long ago. And one of those movies was Baby Driver. And now there are just too many garbage people. It's kind of hard to get lost in stuff, which we can always talk about. Some people will just support the art and not the artist. Here's the thing. When you support the art, you're supporting the artist. So shut up. Shut up about it. Yeah, but still a great movie, but it's a little spoiled because of a few people involved in it. But anyways, getting back to Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, I love following Simon Pegg on Instagram, and that's how I kind of realized, wow, it's been 20 years. Like, I saw that in theaters with a boy I was really into who only saw me as a friend, but he was a great friend too, and we got to just lose it over. We didn't know what it was going to be, and now it's, I've got a few Shaun of the Dead figurines and stuff. Steven even went as Shaun one year for Halloween. Poor man grew a goatee for Halloween. And I think it was Velma that year, which made no sense. We're not really big couple costumes people. But yeah, Shaun of the Dead, 20 years. My God. And then there was a Friday the 13th that happened, which I always love those. I always try to put good energy in those days as opposed to other days. But yeah, got to do a double feature of my two favorite Friday the 13th movies. One, people really understand I love, and two, even my fellow horror friends are like, why? And it's part 7, The New Blood, which is, I think, a lot of people's favorite. And part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. It is pure camp. Nothing can be taken seriously, but you'll recognize a lot of working actors and just be like, holy crap. And then another one that I just revisit, because I was trying to stick to 13 stuff, which was I think 2000, the year 2000, 13 Ghosts with Tony Shalhoub, Matthew Lillard, Murray Abraham. I think that's his name. I feel like that's wrong. Whatever. Shannon Elizabeth, bunch of people, and it's so good. It's actually aging really well. I have it on VHS, so we went to the den and we watched that. But yeah, and that's all. That's the thing as far as movies, preparing for Halloween. When people are like, "Oh my God, this must be your month," I'm like, I watch horror movies and all that year round, so nothing really changes for me. But if anyone's looking for a recommendation, shoot us an email at our new email address, obscurechatter@gmail.com. Obscure Chatter finally got its own email address. It only took over 5 years to think, what if it had its own email address. I don't know. Instead of using like my official, like perpetually offbeat thing. I don't know. But yeah, obscurechatter@gmail.com. And you can, that's where we'll be taking questions from now on, whenever you want to submit. Just be sure to be kind, because unkind people, get blocked. Not responded to. I just don't have the energy to respond to negativity. It's that Tom Holland thing, which is, if you got a problem with me, text me. And if you don't have my number, I don't know you well enough for you to have a problem with me. So it's very much that same thing. I've had a lot of hate sent to me over the years. And it's like, wait, I don't know this person. Why do I care so much? I don't. I'm just being reactive. Fuck it. Bye. But yeah. But if you're listening to the show, you're probably cool. So yeah, obscurechatter@gmail.com. As far as shows, I think last month, not last year, I had mentioned that I was checking out the American Ghosts series. Still loving that. Just started season 2. It's very, very cute. Revisiting Catfish, that is a guilty pleasure reality show that I have no business liking as much as I do. Like Steven, if I have that on, that's a guaranteed, like, Steven's going to check out in 2 seconds. But yeah, still watching Robotech, slowly turning away at that. Where the first season was me kind of grumbling about Min-Mei, the second season is me grumbling about Dana. It's Dana. Focus. I get that this guy's attractive. Would you focus, Dana? God. And then on another rewatch thing, I'm rewatching Buffy and Angel the way that I used to watch it when it was airing. Because when both Buffy and Angel were on the WB, I think they were still the WB and hadn't become the CW yet. Like, Buffy was a WB thing, but I don't know. I can't recall if the CW thing happened before Angel started. I don't think it did. Anyways. Doesn't matter. You don't care. But where once you get to season 4 of Buffy and season 1 of Angel, I line those up and I watch those in sequence as much as I can. So for like, all right, this episode of Buffy, then watch Angel. Like Buffy, Angel, and do that and just kind of adjust as the seasons start. And then obviously there's a whole season of Angel where Buffy had already wrapped up, where they still had some people come back, but it was very much like Sarah Michelle Gellar being like, yeah, no, Buffy quit. Like, I'm done. Y'all enjoy having my stunt double. And if you use any of my sound clips, you're going to pay a bitch. But the big 2 things happen, rewatching like things where I'm like, oh, I've missed these shows. Physical media for the win. Big wins in Supernatural on DVD, which I've been rewatching. Steven and I got the entire series on DVD just in time for a giant Wi-Fi outage, where I mentioned this in my on one of my socials. I still am mostly active on Twitter/X because that's just where I have the most followers. And it feels like, if we still follow each other or you follow me, we can, we all still kind of find each other and through the chaos and the misinformation and the just sheer stupidity that someone that's paying $8 a month thinks that they're entitled to, whatever. But, Supernatural was a big one. And then, like I said, I was talking about the Cornetto trilogy. I was talking about Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg. Spaced. If you've never seen the show Spaced, it's 2 seasons, and it's before Shaun of the Dead. The attention to detail, the references, I think if you are not keen on media literacy, it is a very hard show to watch. But if you are Gen X or a millennial, you'll thoroughly pick up on pretty much everything. But yeah, or just somebody that's younger that has watched a bunch of stuff. Me, I think I pick up on a lot of the youth's references because, I'm just that cool, you guys. like the Wi-Fi was out for almost a full 24 hours. And they were just so bad about keeping us informed on what was happening that I was actually, I was on my 5G just checking stuff out, and Steven couldn't really work, and I luckily didn't have anything booked that day, but I did have to move some stuff around. And it's like, man, it just reminded me of like that winter storm a couple years ago where people wanted to really seem like they understood, but didn't really give a fuck that your emergency or your, Wi-Fi being down, like if it fucked with their deadline, they were just going to move on. Like I had friends that got recast because of the winter storm, being like, I can make it probably in a week, when this dies down or something. Being like, you know what? When you're on a deadline, and I understand sometimes deadlines got a deadline, but other times, wouldn't it be so cool if you were just like a little more understanding about it? Maybe not. Whatever. But yeah, those were good things to revisit. I think I had a session that day and was able to get away for a little bit, but came back and Steven's still watching stuff on DVD and kind of chilling. And it's that weird limbo where you don't want to leave because what if the Wi-Fi comes back and you can work a little bit? I don't know. Like a lot of places were out. We had a neighbor that had some trouble with their pacemaker. Like this is the thing. We talked about it a little bit because a couple of people, like I bitch about stuff online because that's just what I do. It's my profile. If you don't like it, get fucked. Fuck off. But someone was just like, yeah, it's just crazy, how much such a tiny thing means to so much of us. I'm like, it's not a tiny thing. That's like, I think as a vintage millennial, 1984 edition, I have the distinction of having the internet, but that internet being limited, where, you couldn't be on the internet and on the phone. You really couldn't search as well. At least I couldn't. My first computer was a wintergreen Acer, where I played like the CD-ROM free trial stuff all the time. Like that's how I used to watch trailers on my Blockbuster CD-ROM, or playing Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Tale of Orpheo's Curse, featuring a girl named Terri that's just trying to find her brother that's missing in this wax museum. Yeah. So just being like, oh, wow, this is newfangled. And it's just kind of wild now where everything is so dependent on the Wi-Fi. Like people had to cancel orders. People couldn't do their jobs. But what some people's main takeaway was, wow, I can't believe you're upset about that. Like, motherfucker, I can't work. Like a couple of days prior to this, I had a new client. I was really excited about this. I love all my clients equally, but when it's a new one, it's just like, wow, what's this relationship going to be like? And where I was in my booth here in North Texas, and the director was clearly in LA. The engineer was, I think, in Indiana. And then the clients themselves, I believe they were in Asia. Like, I believe they were in just a whole other country. I think we were working on their time zone, and then we all just kind of worked around it. But okay, if my Wi-Fi was out, I could not record remotely. Which means that if their deadline did not, factor in for something like one of their actors being unable to sign on, are they really going to hold up everything? Or are they just going to cast somebody else? I would cast somebody else over waiting if my deadline was that tight. You try to be as understanding as you can. Like I've directed people and they've come in tears and being like, hey, so I'm here. I just need a second. Like, what's going on? Like, my dog died. Like, okay, let's cancel today. And let's not have to worry about, sounding okay when you're not okay. Like, are you sure? Like, yeah, I like being understanding to that. But then it's hey, like, I'm going to be out of the country for a month. Is it cool if we just do everything when I get back? Like, no, it's not. But yeah, so the Wi-Fi being out, which oh my God, I forget how Steven and I figured it out, where it's like somebody intentionally cut the cable. And so it wasn't about, oh, hey, plugged everything back in. It's we have to repair this cable, like a thread at a time. It takes time. And luckily, Spectrum just credit us like, hey, so our power was out for quite a while. Can you help a big shout? Oh my God, yeah. And actually, we're looking at your account. There are a bunch of blackouts that we never credit you for. So like, da-da-da-da-da. And here's a whole ba-ba-da-ba, $13. You know what? I'll take it. I'll take the win. Thank you. Oh my gosh. And as far as books, I keep going in and out of slumps as far as reading, but I've already reached my goal reading this year, and I keep actually adjusting it so I'm not finished with my goal, but I've actually been actively trying not to read as much, because there's reading as an escape, and then there's I have to read to hit my goal. And being a speed reader is a blessing and a curse. But since I was still on my Stephen King kick, I read Pet Sematary, which I'm surprised I liked as much as I did. I'd like to get like a first edition of that. That would be really cool. And I did like the Mary Lambert 1989 film Pet Sematary, which I haven't revisited in a while. But yeah, it just hit. I think I read it at the right time. I think if I had read it a couple of years ago, it would have been very triggering for me for obvious reasons. If you're a longtime listener, you know what I'm talking about. And if not, I put that info out there, and you're welcome to also reach out if you'd like me to discuss it further in a later episode, in a future episode. But yeah, I thought it was really good, and I actually think the movie did some very fair adjustments to it. I liked it a lot. And I did check it out. The audiobook is actually narrated by Michael C. Hall. So if you want Dexter to read you a book, I highly recommend it. I think he's narrated a couple of things by Stephen King. But yeah. And then the other book, I've been following this guy on TikTok named Kyle Prue, and he just released a book this month called How to Piss Off Men, 109 Things to Say to Shatter the Male Ego. And if you follow him on TikTok, you will not be disappointed. It's some of the best, like, random insults. It's a great coffee table book. I believe it's on a digital library for a lot of people, so check your local library too. But it was so freaking good. Oh my gosh. And then, let's get some water. Got some. Yeah. Hydration. Okay, I'm done, I promise. At least with that. And then music. I gotta say, yikes. I listened to, if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen this, where I saw I saw Linkin Park doing Linkin Park's official page doing a countdown. And then I just happened to be online with working Wi-Fi when the countdown stopped. And I was like, oh, something's streaming. Okay. And I've watched plenty of bands, do adjustments to their lineup where someone wasn't necessarily, dealing, or where they weren't necessarily dealing with death or anything like that, but it's like, oh, so-and-so got fired or blah, 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 blah. But, I was like, okay, cool. I will check out the Linkin Park thing. And then I got really excited because, I heard, I saw people I recognized and all this stuff. And then the new singer, Emily, started. I'm like, where do I know her from? Dead Sarah, right? I think that's the name. And then it took like 2 seconds for somebody to be like, yeah, their AI shit that they did last year really bothered me. I'm like, what? And so as of, still got the live stream going, I'm checking out this AI thing and it's, oh my God, they did this fuck awful like AI video for Lost for the re-release, that I guess I just totally missed. And it is hot garbage. I can't understand how any artist worth a fuck is cool with generative AI. Like, there's like hey, it's for people that maybe don't have the skill set. If you don't get the skill set, you don't get to say you're a fucking artist. Okay? Just because you copied my voice and put it into a program doesn't make you a director. Okay? It makes you a piece of shit. So fuck the fuck off. But, so there was that. I'm like, okay. And then I don't know if you really like the new singer. I really don't give a fuck. I don't. Me, it's the separating the art from the artist. It took 2 seconds of Googling her name to be like, oh, I don't like that. Okay. Don't like that either. Oop. Super don't like that. Don't like an affiliation with, I don't want to say the name of this quote unquote religion. Oh God, I'm going to call it the lab coat cult. That's what we call that religion here on Obscure Chatter. Official, the lab coat cult. I don't like the practices and the very weird normalization of abuse. And I'll just leave it at that. So that's weird. Well, you don't know. No, I don't know anything for certain because parasocial relationships are such a mind fuck. But for me, that was enough not to check it out. And then on top of that, for me, the new song, and then the immediate release of the video, it just felt hollow to me. And for people being like, oh, well, the band can still be a band without Chester. Yes, it can. It was a band before Chester. Most of us know this. Most of us know that Linkin Park used to be Hybrid Theory. And then it all just worked out where Chester joined it and it really got going, really got sizzling. And then Chester passed away. And what do you do? Like Steven and I had this big discussion after we finished streaming where I'm like, I don't want to hate this as much as I do. I just had a very, I don't know. It felt very similar to my reaction to Uncanny Valley bullshit where you're like, that almost felt real. It felt very artificial and very forced. And I'm not just talking about when Emily sang things that were just not written for her voice. She did okay, but they just weren't for her voice. They were for Chester's voice. So you're just not going to hit it the way blah, 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 blah. Personally, for me, if I were the singer and totally doing something outside of my register, I just wouldn't do the songs. But that's me. But yeah, you think about other things where, other people passed. And yeah, there have been fill-ins, what was it? Queen, they had Adam Lambert tour with them for a while. I don't know if that's a thing again. I just don't know. But then, yes, again, there was a band outside of Chester, but I don't know if I would call them Linkin Park again. Maybe just calling them anything else, I think would have gone a long way. And I can already hear some people being like, well, Terri, I think this. I promise you're allowed to think differently than me on this, but I really don't want to argue about it. But, Steve and I had big conversations talking about different instances, and he was bringing up instances that I wasn't, and vice versa. Like, immediately what I think a lot of people brought up is Nirvana. Like, Dave and Chris did not try to continue Nirvana afterward, which legally I don't think they could have if they wanted to. But Dave Grohl, ew, David. That's a whole other bag of beans right there. It just would have been weird to be like, and Nirvana now featuring blah. Like, and I'm not saying necessarily that Chester is on the same level of Cobain. Some people can definitively make that argument. I know that Chester's singing spoke to me in a way that Mike Shinoda's never did, and Emily's didn't. Cobain, definitely haunting vocals sometimes. There's very interesting techniques that they did on certain tracks, but I just, form a new band. Name, go through a different thing, or like a Zeppelin. What was it? Led Zeppelin. Was it John Bonham died? And they just decided not to continue without him. I think I have that right. And then there was the Doors, they tried to keep going after Morrison passed, and just being like, it's impossible to replace Jim. Or a big one for me, I love Joy Division so much. You know what I actually also love? It's, the remaining members, they've reformed as New Order, and I love New Order too. They're totally separate entities. Do they sound similar? Yeah, because it's previous members of Joy Division. Or like, I'm not saying like it's like, oh, what was it? Like, oh yeah, like let's have the Jimi Hendrix experience without Jimi Hendrix. No. Or let's have oh God, like Sublime without Bradley. Like, why? Or like Soundgarden, which oh my gosh. They formed a different band, I think. I don't remember. Yeah, well, I'll stick to the ones that I know, like blah, 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 blah. I could list several more. And then there are other people, there are other bands where it's like that's what Steven and I were talking about later is, like if Shirley Manson passed away, yes, it would be so obvious, like, hey, we can't do Garbage anymore because Shirley's gone. Or, the Cranberries, well, let's just try to keep moving on without Dolores. Like, I think maybe they tried. I don't remember. Again, we talked about it a lot where like, if it's a key member of your stuff, just, I don't know. I don't know the thought process behind it. I just know that it feels, maybe it's just me, and I feel like it isn't, but I'm just going to say it's just me because it's the Terri Doty show. Maybe I should have just called Obscure Chatter the Terri Doty show. But no, Obscure Chatter's cooler. And it's got a really cool chattering teeth icon named Jimothy. Why not? But it just feels like a cash grab to me. And as far as Lab Coat Cult, there was a random thing when my boyfriend at the time and I were walking around downtown Austin, and we passed, a chapter of Lab Coat Cult, and they're like free. Oh my God. What did they call it? It was like personality evaluation or something like that. And we went like, we were meeting some friends up later, but we had time to kill. So we were like, oh my God, we should randomly go in there and get this personality thing so we could like talk to, our friends about it later. We walked in and people were on us in a fucking second. Not like, oh, get them or anything, but just a hi, how can I help you? Like, oh, we're here for the thing. We'd love to learn more, blah, 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 blah. And Matthew and I actually, that's my ex, talked about it in a weird, like, kind of like traumatized way for a little bit. Like, we think it's haha funny now, but honestly, it could have gone really bad because it's also just like that was an early 20-year-old stupid thing to do. Like, yeah, let's just go into this building without like really any. What we know about lab coat cult now, we did not know then. This was like 20 years ago. But they were like, oh yeah, no, we would love to learn more about you, blah 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 blah. And Matthew and I were holding hands. They immediately tried to pull us apart and, to evaluate us separately. And Matthew was like, well, Terri. And we just kind of like scrambled away, like, no thanks, we changed our mind by. And like, what the fuck? And just made sure to kind of avoid that area if we were walking. I think like we had done like a hookah lounge and then just went, haha, like, let's just like live in the moment, blah, blah, blah. And that was really stupid. But lab coat cult, what I've learned about it since then has not been fun. And so, yes, I understand there are people that aren't able to leave or have left and aren't able to talk about their experiences, but that's only a smidgen of what I'm talking about as far as like the new lead singer's experience. But take all that away. Like, imagine you know nothing about that band. If you, nothing about the new lineup, anything like that. And if you can hear the new album and be like, I like this, good on you. But it's not for me. And I like some bands that not a lot of other people like, but that's, for me, yeah, I'm just going to listen to the older albums and not fault anybody for liking that. But for me, I don't like it. Like, end of the day, it's, yeah, like take away lab coat cult, take away just weird vibes, like having somebody else, or it's almost like I guess I don't know why I'm likening it to this, but there was this couple friend of ours that we'd known forever. And we had plans, Steven and I had plans with this couple. And when we met up for dinner, I can't tell you who this is, and I know they're not listening. This is the only reason I'm able to tell this story. We had initially met this guy's girlfriend because we were already friends with this guy. And so we're like, yeah, I'm going to come up with like, oh my God, I'm going to come up with fake names. Like Mark and his girlfriend, Elizabeth. Like, yeah, like we kind of, how couples, not in a sexual way, how couples date other couples. They're the couples that you do antique shows with. They're the couples that maybe you want to do like a group dinner and then like a movie or vice versa. Blah, 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 blah. Like Mark and Elizabeth were that couple. And then just one night we had dinner with Mark and Elizabeth on the books. Steven and I showed up and Mark had brought Sophia. And it's like, hey guys, want you to meet Sophia. And just in no way gave us any kind of prep at all to be like, where the fuck's Elizabeth? Is Elizabeth alive? And it was just the most awkward dinner where we had to be like, I don't know, like it's like being on a date and not knowing that you were supposed to be on a date kind of thing. But that's what I'm likening the new Linkin Park to, where you're just like, okay, Sophia seems nice. Where the fuck is Elizabeth? Is she okay? We found out shit later, but it was like, motherfucker, like talking to Mark, like, hey, so, why didn't you tell us that we were going to be meeting a new girlfriend and that you broke it? And it's like, oh, well, it's not really your business that Elizabeth and I ended. Like, okay, it's not. Yeah, you do you, but you brought her on Elizabeth's date. We don't know Sophia. Yeah, so that's what I'm likening that to. But yeah, so music. That's it. Art for September. What a wonderful nightmare. Just in time for Halloween. As far as we've already gotten a couple of requests in the forum that we have been using up till this point. Again, obscurechatter@gmail.com for requests and all that from this point on. But yeah, people asking what we're doing for Halloween. We are keeping Halloween chill. We'll talk about Halloween stuff and Halloween media and all of that, but we're going to keep it really chill this Halloween for our October episode. And we do, as far as that anime show, I've moved some stuff around like I said I was going to. And so at the beginning of October, we'll have a couple normal episodes with, I think, the beginning of October, if I have this planned right and I remember, it's going to be like Jamie Markey's first episode and Eric Vale. And then the last 3 Thursdays of October, those are going to be all 3 that anime show episode, Halloween episodes. So the first one will be the 2010 Halloween special, and then the 2011, the week following that, and then the 2012. It really felt like we did more than 3 Halloween episodes, but that was it. And so, yeah, those, and the last one, the 2012 one, will hit exactly on Halloween Day, which is pretty cool. And then we'll go back to the linear format. But yeah, that's been an interesting revisit as well. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support that anime show. You guys fucking rock. Oh my gosh. And then, as you know, I talked about a few things, but I'd already mentioned this previously, but I am very grateful for all the fairy tale attention. Fairy tale love, Virgo love is it's interesting because yeah, I've been doing that character, you know, not including breaks and all of that, you know, between like the fairy tale series and the 100 Years Quest, which is what's currently airing. But I feel like Virgo got a lot of attention when the eclipse arc happened, because it was a very different Virgo. I was also directed by somebody else, which is just so fascinating. Sometimes, like I'd kind of mentioned it when the fairy tale initially came back for 100 Years Quest, where some people are like, they sound different. And it's something that took me a while to kind of really grasp, is like, it's also a different director, you know? Chris's direction is not the way Tyler directs. And these are also characters that we've been voicing for years. So I think there's just a different vibe to who's directing us. And I do stuff differently with Chris than I would with Tyler. And that's not to say one is better than the other, but I've known Chris George, amazing voice director. I've known him since I did a 24-hour film festival with him. That's like how we met, when Steven and I lived in like a really sketchy condo area. And him and Steven were like both sound engineers at the OG or not the OG, but one of the older buildings of Funimation. And so I've seen Chris expand into one hell of a voice actor as well. He's been in a lot of stuff, but of course, I really love him as Mr. Takahashi in interviews with Monster Girls. Yeah, his directing style is just a lot more laid back than Tyler's. And also I think it helps that, yeah, like I'm buddies and I've got more of a history with Chris. So he just directs me differently as Virgo than what Tyler did. And I think with the like Eclipse arc, I want to say Kyle Phillips directed me on that. And that's a different vibe too, you know? Sometimes the director just being different does alter the read quite a lot. But all that to be said, I just really am grateful for all the love. Virgo is really leaning into her her weirdness. It is a little funny that there have been these kind of backhanded compliments. I refer to a lot of stuff as eating the compliment sandwich. And like most of the time, the compliment is the cheese in the middle of the grilled cheese compliment sandwich is what I'm saying. But this whole, Virgo is really weird. And then I realized it's you. Like, I know that's a compliment, but does it also have to, insult me? Like, I don't think I'm weird. I think I'm Terri. And how dare you yuck my yum? And it's a weird thing I said earlier this week that I still haven't gotten over is who am I to yuck someone's yum? I don't kink shame, blah, 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 blah. But Virgo is a big, wow, you're really into it or you're not. I'm very confused. I don't think I even tried to show Fairy Tale to my family. Yeah. They would always fall asleep to stuff that I showed them anyway, and like pretty normal stuff too, or normal in comparison to wild cards like Virgo. But again, thank you so much for the love. Also, another really interesting thing is, I don't know, just been in a really cool, like chill vibe this month where there is stuff to obviously always overthink, but there's also stuff that's just, not worth giving too much of your energy to. It's going to happen like it happens, like your Wi-Fi going out. There's only so much you can do about that. But I got to do brunch with some girlfriends, and that was, oh my God, so much fun. Got to just talk about the most random shit. I love it so much. Also, a thing that I can't believe I posted about, and I also can't believe I didn't think about this post. I think I exclusively posted about this on Instagram. I'm trying to post different things on different platforms, but I also don't want to make social media my job. My job is being a writer, creative director / voice actor, and all that. I'm not a content creator in that respect. Like, there are people that really make that their jobs, and I don't want to do that. It's not easy work. It really, really isn't. But I did post on Instagram a photo of me in this horrible, like, blue, what I referred to as dystopian blue, little frock, because Mama's 40, so Mama had her first mammogram. And I gotta tell you, movies, television, and maybe people that have a less intense tolerance to pain as me, don't overthink that comment at all, really scared the shit out of me when it came to mammograms. Okay, this might be where I lose some of you, but okay. If before you go, if you have breasts, no matter how you identify, if you have breasts, please be checking yourself at least once a week. Please be checking yourself in the shower. Check out different ways to check for abnormalities in your breasts, please. And Stephen and I have been doing this thing where we've been going to each other's doctor's appointments because that kind of relieves the stress of you having to latch on to everything your doctor's saying. If there is something wrong, or even if there isn't, if your doctor just recommends something, you're only half listening. Like, if everything's good, I'm ready to go. But if they're like, yeah, just be mindful of this, and we might want to consider this, I'm like nodding. I've literally been so numb to like results on something that I walked out with my chart. Like, they called me to be like, can you bring your chart back? I was fine, but, I was embarrassed that I was so out of it that I just left with like a big red folder. I had Steven take it back for me. I'm like, oh, I can't do this. But, oh my God, the staff was so nice there. And the reason I went is because when you're 40, they're like, okay, this is where you're going to start just having to get your boobs squished a little into a machine. And if you do that already, congratulations on that kink. That sounds expensive. But yeah, I walked in and it was the lighting. My God, the lighting was so inviting. It was like being in a cafe, like that dim lighting and like, hello, how are you? And I'd already filled out all the paperwork online. So like, you're checked in. Although they messed up my paperwork somehow. And Stephen became Stephen Doty. Stephen becomes Stephen Doty quite a lot. That makes more sense than us having last names. Like I put his name in right and they're like, Mr. Doty. But we were all very quiet. It's a pretty quiet place. And I don't know. Yeah, there is something about the mentality there because, you don't know why someone's there. But you never know that with a lot of places. But I don't know. Like I sat in the waiting room and there was a guy that was there with his mom, and he kept saying hello to everybody like he worked there, like he was the doorman. It's like, have a nice day. And I don't know why that was so endearing to me because I was nervous. There was absolutely nothing to be worried about, but I was still fucking nervous. So they called me back and Stephen got up with me. They're like, Mr. Hoff, you're going to stay right there. And yeah, they take you back and they hand you a bunch of wipes because you're not supposed to wear like deodorant. You really shouldn't be wearing perfume or anything like that. Nothing that could potentially interfere with the machine. The machine that wants to make your boobs pancakes. That's the way it had been described to me. But they handed me a bag for my clothes, and a little dystopian blue folded frock, and some wipes to take off the deodorant, and showed me to like a dressing room that looks like circa 1990s JCPenney. And yeah, I was shaking a little. I can't explain it. I mean, I don't really need to. Like, you guys get it. It's an intense thing, even if there's nothing to worry about. And I sat down, and oddly enough, I saw a sign that's like, hey, we will not tolerate abuse of technicians and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck's going down at this place that they have to like put that out? But a bunch of women were all there. We were all very quiet. We all kept to ourselves, all wearing this dystopian blue. And finally, I had this chick, Andrea, walk back with me, and she's like, first time. All right. It's not as scary as you think it is, and blah, blah, blah. Just reading my mind. How many times does she go through this throughout the day? And yeah, she's like very chill. She's like, here's what you're going to expect, and blah, blah, blah. And, just watching my boob. It's not pancake-like at all. I really thought it was going to be like, it's a crepe. It's crepe thin. No, it was just a tiny little squeeze. And then you do it two different ways. Kind of hug the machine because I'm much taller than the average woman. And I'm kind of hugging the machine with my long arms, like I'm mimicking right now, as if you can see. And yeah, it was just, don't breathe. And then, all right, we're going to adjust. And she's just moving my boobs around like bread dough, just da da da. All right. And don't breathe. And you do that again on the other side. And then it's all right. You're good. And as I left, just made sure I didn't have anything to do. And then, the guy with his mom is just like, have a nice day. Bye. I'm like, bye. And we've been doing this thing after doctor's appointments. We get a donut. So we went to our favorite donut place, and I got myself just a donut, pink. I love the pink icing, the sprinkles. And that was my like, and then they told me it was going to be like next week. I got my results back. The appointment was on Friday the 13th because I needed a little bit of a scare, apparently. And on Tuesday, I got a very nice PDF that's like, congratulations, we found nothing. Here is why we don't show you like all the images, because they can terrify some people. Here's meaty tissue. Here's the difference, blah, 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 blah. But congratulations. We look forward to your next exam, blah, 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 blah. And Stephen was outside working on his garden, and I ran out barefoot, and it is not cool out here in Texas right now. So I singed my feet, but being like, I'm good. Yeah. And just went back inside and had a little bit of a cry. Not going to lie. A little bit of a cry just because I knew I was fine, but the validation did go a really long way. It was fantastic. Steven's like, let's celebrate. And we got some random food a couple days later, but he had plans to make this amazing chicken soup. And I'm like, no, I want this chicken soup tonight. Let's just, but I posted about it because I just wanted to post about it, and actually had friends from high school being like, fuck, I need to actually schedule mine. Thanks for the reminder, or blah, 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 blah. And I had, my old theater arts teacher who kicked breast cancer's ass, thank me for, getting regularly checked up. And that made me really emotional. But yeah, I just felt like posting about it. What I hated is I didn't factor in until after I posted. I'm like, oh, I'm not wearing a bra. Swing low. Yeah, it's whatever. You guys, the pandemic gave me zero, took all my fuck supply. I answer for deliveries without a bra. You're welcome. You're welcome. But that was quite the experience. I don't know. There is something about well, you're 40, so it's just something you're gonna have to do from now on. Just admit you have a fetish and you like to squish boobs. Just admit that to me. I'm the only one here. Just admit that. Okay? I won't tell anybody. Just to me. Just this once. Just admit. You're weird. I don't yuck anybody's yum, but you like to squish boobs, don't you? I don't know. But yeah, it's been quite a chill month, but also, little bouts of funkiness. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful you're here. We're all here. Happy about new programs to watch, happy about new books to explore, new television shows, and just new experiences. I will admit, the heat and the rising COVID cases that we're just not talking about anymore, do very much minimize me going out and doing a lot of stuff in public where it isn't outside and all that. But I'm hopeful that we're, I really don't know. I'm hopeful that I continue to be okay, and that my loved ones continue to be okay, and that my lovely listeners continue to be okay. But there are a lot of fucking assholes in the world, so just do what you can to minimize bullshit, and I will do the same accordingly. But yeah, I had all these things oh, we're going to talk about this and that. And it's I keep getting requests to talk about AI. If you really want me to talk about AI more than I already have, give me some for instances. We've talked about, we've also continued to get stuff about emotional immaturity and narcissism, with specific instances to people that I'm affiliated with. I really don't feel like talking about that, but again, be more specific about what you'd like me to talk about. And I can do some in-depth stuff like I've done before, where research has been done, all of that. I'm surprised how much people don't know about the world. For God's sakes, earlier this month, the Chase glitch, that was insane to watch. This supposed glitch where everyone's anyone with more than 2 brain cells is it's not a glitch, it's fraud, you newborn baby. What? Oh my God. It's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. If you haven't heard about that, oh my God, I'd love to explore that more. But it really is that simple. There was a hack, there was a fuck up, and people thought that they could just withdraw thousands of dollars and that one of the oldest banks in the country wouldn't catch on to that and make you pay accordingly. You know, in addition to possibly, you know, serving time and maybe never being able to have a fucking bank account again. Like, Jiminy Christmas. My gosh. But yeah, I'm sure I've rambled on enough here. I really do love you guys. I'm so grateful to all your questions. For future episodes, please reach out to me anytime for the show, obscurechatter@gmail.com. That is the way to check it out. If you have a request for Halloween content, I'm totally down. But as I always switch between we and me for this show. Steven is very much a part of this show, but sometimes he is very much just told like, hey, I think this is what we're doing. Oh, you're ready. But no, I'm a lot more respectful than that most of the time. Unless I'm hungry, then all bets are off. But yeah, Halloween's going to stay chill. But I'm always down, and I always love hearing from you guys. I get little like breakdowns of episodes from you guys. Some friends of which, you know, like they have my phone number, I have theirs, and then other people private message me through social media. Which, I'm gonna be real, you really need to be a lot more discerning about what you guys send me. We are friendly. We are not a lot of people. We are friendly. We are not friends. Y'all need to be a lot more careful with what you're sending people that you don't know personally. Guys, you know, if this remotely sounds like you, I just want you to be careful. My God. Stranger danger. Catfishing's a thing. I don't know what else to say. I'm not catfishing anybody currently. Currently? Why did I put currently there? It's definitely time to go. I'd say the booth madness is set in, but I'm in my living room right now. So the living room lunacy? Sure. We've made that a thing. We made lab coat cult a thing. What a wonderful time to be alive. But yes, thank you guys so much for listening. Obscure Chatter is nothing without you guys. You make this just worth everything. And I hope we can just keep on keeping on like we've been keeping on. So until the end of October, read good shit, watch good shit, listen to good shit or bad shit. I don't give a fig. And whatever you do, just entertain the idea of not being a shit. Hasta pasta.